This is the matter of Corinne Barnett and Miles Hodges. I have received documentation for this report, or for this case, including a case report from an amended report date 8/29 of 2025, review hearing and permanency planning, date of hearing 9/2 of 2025 from the department. I received a case service plan dated 7/22 of 25, parent agency treatment plan of that same date, 3 of those, forensic fluid reports from May of 25 through, looks like August of 25. And then I've also received, I'm assuming it came off of one of these other ones, and it was labeled an Exhibit 1, which looks like a safety plan for Tiffany Barnett, signed by Ms. Doherty and Ms. Benzu in December of 24. Any other documentation I should be aware of, Mr. Sommerfeld?
Judge, did you identify the North Country Community Mental Health? This was a psychological evaluation for the minor child, Miles Hodges.
I do not have that in the documentation that I have for me today.
All right, well, if people don't have that, we will get that to them. It just indicates that Miles, he does not qualify on
I read about that in the hearing report.
Yeah.
Screening on June 2025 from Community Mental Health determined not to meet the criteria for autism. I read about that, but I do not have that report.
All right, well, we'll get that to the court and to any other parties. Ms. Hansel, did you receive these documents?
I didn't receive the psychological. I would like to have that. Thank you. But I have the other
Your
ones, I
Honor.
think.
It was not provided to my knowledge as a document for this hearing. I don't believe we have a physical copy of those results yet from CMH, but we can certainly request them and provide them to all parties when we receive them.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Benzu. Appreciate that. All right. With that information, any objection to the court considering the documents that I have placed on the record?
No objection.
No
Your Honor.
objection.
No objection.
All right. Those documents will be admitted for the court's consideration, and I have reviewed them. Mr. Sommerfeld, do you have a witness for my consideration today?
Yes, I'd like to call foster care supervisor Leslie Venzu.
Ms. Benzu, would you raise your right hand so I can swear you in? Do you swear the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do, Your Honor.
All right, thank you very much. If you would state your full name and spell your last name for the record, please.
Leslie Venzu, Vendzzuh.
All right, Mr. Sommerfeld, go ahead.
Thank you. Ms. Venzu, how are you employed?
I am a services supervisor for Department of Health and Human Services at Sego County.
Okay, are you supervising the case, the 2 children, Miles Hodges and Corinne Barnett?
I am.
All right, and so you're aware of the exhibits that were identified and prepared to give testimony today?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, now you just over the weekend, it's August 30th, 2025, something happened that triggered you to file an amended court report. Can you tell us, was it about a unannounced visit during an unsupervised parenting time that just this weekend or on Friday?
The unannounced visit occurred on Thursday, August 28th, 2025.
Okay, and so was that included you? Was anybody else with you?
It was myself and recently assigned foster care worker, Ashley Rice.
Okay, and was this, what time did this occur and where did you go?
Approximately 6:30 in the evening. Myself and Miss Rice had planned to conduct an unannounced visit during Miss Barnett's extended overnight parenting time with Miles Hodges, minor child specifically. The older child in this case, Corinne, as well as the relative foster parents and other family members were on vacation. This was an approved vacation through the court. Due to Miles's high needs, it was agreed upon by everyone that it was not in his best interest to be a part of that trip. So, given Miss Barnett's progress up until the time of the vacation, by all indication that it was appropriate to attempt an extended subsequent overnight visit for her and Miles versus having him stay in a foster home with individuals he might not know. So, to ensure his safety and well-being during this time, myself and Miss Rice conducted an unannounced visit to Miss Barnett's home, again on the evening of Thursday, 8/28. It's about 6:30 in the evening. Upon driving down the road to Miss Barnett's home, I noticed that Miles was playing at a small nearby playground. So I instructed Miss Rice to pull over. Upon exiting the vehicle, I recognized I did not readily see Miss Barnett. There were multiple children playing at the park, and there was only one adult that I could readily see or identify. This individual identified himself as Nathan. I'm omitting his last name for confidentiality purposes because of some of the information I have surrounding him. But he confirmed when asked that he was currently supervising Miles. He indicated that Miss Barnett had gone to work, and that she would be back in a couple of hours.
Okay, were you aware of this person and was he approved to be around these kids?
I was not familiar with this individual. My first impression of the individual in speaking with him was that he may have some developmental or intellectual delays. My coworker, Ms. Rice, was concerned that could also potentially be under the influence of some type of substance. And I was not familiar with him. He's not an individual whose name has been provided to the department historically. So he had not had any kind of background check completed by the department at that point in time.
Okay, and when you said you saw Miles at the park, um, was he on, some type of play equipment?
Yeah, he was just playing near the picnic table where the individual was sitting along with a variety of other children.
Okay, was he also seen in a tree?
That was later in the evening, not at the time that I initially located him.
All right, so is there a safety plan in place? I mean, we have these unsupervised visits. Uh, are- aren't there plans in place to, provide guidance and structures to help ensure that these uh, unsupervised parenting times go okay?
Yes, yeah, there is a safety plan that has been in place since December 4th of 2024 at the onset when we first began unsupervised visits again with Miss Barnett. That safety plan was created in conjunction with her. It was provided to her in writing. She did acknowledge her agreement to the plan via text message and gave Miss Doherty permission for her to sign the plan. And then it was also talked about during a TDM, a team decision-making meeting, in which Ms. Barnett was present, and that was on 12/2/2024, prior to the plan going into effect, prior to the unsupervised visits beginning. And so there was significant opportunity for questions, issues to be raised surrounding that plan, and to my knowledge, none were.
Okay, so let's go from the park. Did you eventually go to respondent mother's house?
Yes, I initially returned to the office to obtain court orders in the event that I needed to potentially contact law enforcement, as well as to conduct a background check on Nathan. I was able to determine that Nathan has a legal guardian, that he is determined essentially incapable of caring for himself in all areas. So that is certainly a concern. So at that point, we returned to locate Miss Barnett. And upon driving down her road, I saw Ms. Barnett in the road, got out of the vehicle with Ms. Rice and informed Tiffany, hey, we need to have a chat. She was on the phone, ended her call and informed me that Miles was hanging out in the willow tree in the neighbor's yard.
Okay. So did she just come home from work?
Yes.
Okay. And so did you talk to her about that this person supervising Miles was not a good choice?
I did. So Ms. Barnett let Miles know that that I was there. And Miles got out of the tree. He gave Miss Barnett a difficult time. He had ran up on the neighbor's porch, ran down, wasn't listening. Miss Barnett was able to kind of corral him in the roadway on the side of the road. He was hitting her, punching her, spitting on her, refusing to follow directions. He was upset that there wasn't more candy for him to eat and that he couldn't continue playing with a neighbor child. He did eventually agree to go back to the home to get a snack. And Miss Barnett allowed myself and Miss Rice to accompany her back to the home to have some conversation.
Okay. And what, tell us about your observation inside of Tiffany's house, the respondent mother.
So Miss Barnett and myself and Miss Rice talked about quite a few things. As far as observations in the home, upon entering the home, we did readily recognize that there was marijuana roaches, cigarette butts, marijuana in a jar, smoking pipe, and what I believe was a marijuana grinder, as well as some ashtrays, including a large silver tray full of marijuana roaches and cigarette butts on a table in the living room between the chair and one of the chairs and the couch. Upon entering the home, it smelled like cigarette smoke. I did ask Tiffany about the smell of the cigarette smoke. She indicated that she's not smoking, but that other people often smoke in her home. When we talked about the marijuana, observing the marijuana in the home, I questioned why this was out. Miss Barnett was adamant that it was not her fault that this marijuana was out, that this was a result of her friends coming into her home. They must have taken it out and left it out, or they had their own and used it. She essentially acknowledged having marijuana in the home, but denied that she's the one that left it out. When confronted about the fact that it's her home and she's responsible for the individuals she lets in her home, she was very defensive of that, stating that it wouldn't happen again. I did point out to Miss Barnett that based on my observations, this was not, what I was looking at was not from a day of having someone at your home smoking marijuana. It appeared very much that this had been out for a while, to the point that there was a child's painting or drawing sitting on the silver platter amongst the marijuana roaches and cigarette butts. So that was difficult. There was also what I believe was a vape pen on the floor. There was also a screwdriver readily accessible on the TV stand / cabinet next to the front door. Miss Barnett did demonstrate that she stores her metal tray when she's not using it and her marijuana in a cabinet that can only be opened using the screwdriver, and demonstrated how you have to essentially use the screwdriver to get the cabinet door open. She did show me a lockbox in there, but acknowledged that the lock on the lockbox is not in working order.
All right.
I
So,
did.
no, do you have something further?
I apologize. I was just going to note too, further observation, did notice a black trash bag sitting between the other end of the couch and another chair. Miss Barnett allowed us to look in that bag. She self-disclosed that there would be Mike's Hard Lemonade containers, empty containers in there. She credited this to being from cleaning up around her residence. And then there were empty cans of Busch Light. She denied that those are hers. She indicated they were in the home because she needed to take back the bottles and cans. There were 2 unopened beers in the fridge. Miss Barnett allowed me to look in there when she was opening the fridge to get a snack for Miles. And in there, there was a Bud Light flavored beer in there, which she indicated was for a crock pot meal. And there was also an unopened can of Busch Light.
Okay. There's a point in your report on page 6. This is the amended report. I know the pages aren't numbered, but yeah, I counted it. It's number 6. It says Tiffany became upset, and then I want you to tell us about that incident and how it got to. Then Tiffany stated, "I just smoked so much weed I can't remember," and then telling you to take the kids, and then there were issues of you know statements about suicide. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so throughout the visit at the home, Tiffany was pretty erratic, pretty dysregulated. She did acknowledge that she's been feeling very depressed as a result of her essentially a side effect of her borderline personality disorder. In the home, pretty quick into the conversation when I was kind of challenging her about leaving Miles with Nathan. She was adamant that she didn't leave Miles with Nathan. And pressing about that further, she said that she had left Miles with Cody, but then acknowledged that her friend Cody had not been home from work at the time she left and that he was only supposed to be with Nathan for a short amount of time. Um, and then in talking with her, well, and I, addressed the fact that like it's her responsibility to ensure that Miles is left with appropriate individuals. So I confronted her about the fact that we had not been asked to clear any of these individuals, given that she had decided to work this week. The department's original understanding for this week was that she would only be working at her day job in order to provide care for Miles in the evening. So she did not update us to say that her plans had changed, nor did she ask for us to run any clearances. So I tried to express upon Ms. Barnett the seriousness of ensuring that Miles is with people who are appropriate, especially given his high needs. And she just really struggled to take accountability. She got frustrated and essentially just yelled like, "Are you gonna take him? Just take him. I'll just kill myself." And had to calm her down, try and explain to Ms. Barnett that we really were trying to gain an understanding of what was going on, and where the disconnect was. There were 2 other points in the visit where she referenced suicidal thoughts. The point at which you're referencing, I was confronting her again about marijuana. I don't know how I can just, you're putting me in a hard spot. I can't just leave Miles in this situation now with everything that I've stumbled across. He's with inappropriate individuals. There's marijuana out and accessible in the home. There's things that he could get into that pose a risk of harm. And there's a lack of accountability on behalf of Ms. Barnett. I challenged her about the safety plan because she was saying she didn't know that it was part of the safety plan that individuals had to be background checked. So I challenged her with the fact that like this has been in place since December of 24. And that I myself have explained safety plans to and with her before, and that I just didn't simply believe that she didn't know that it needed to happen. And that's the point at which she discussed that she doesn't read half of them, she just signs them. And I again reiterated that safety planning is a service and that it is something that should be taken seriously and that she should not be signing them willy-nilly if she doesn't understand them. And at that point, she discussed that she just is smoking so much weed that she can't remember essentially the plans, which is a new concern in and of itself.
All right. So isn't one of the reasons for removal in the first place was alcohol consumption? Do I have that right?
Correct.
Okay. And there was a point in this case where the children were returned to Miss Barnett and then they needed to be removed.
Correct. They had to be removed in July of 2024.
So about a year ago, were the reasons for that removal of the children? This was after we started the case, removed services were provided, progress was made, and then we had to take the children. Is what was discovered just this last weekend, is that similar to that what was going on a year ago?
Similar, yeah, in terms of lack of emotional stability, the issues with the home environment. It was a year ago. We had concerns about potential relapse with alcohol. Miss Barnett's drug screens have been negative for alcohol. That said, the window of detection for forensic fluids for alcohol is pretty low. So it is difficult to definitively catch an individual using alcohol with the type of screens that we have access to. I do believe that this is more mental health than potentially alcohol, but it's hard to say. I don't have Miss Barnett did do a random drug screen while we were at the home on the 28th, but I do not have the results of that screen yet. But substance use has been a consistent issue and concern, as well as the home environment and emotional stability.
Okay. Getting back to, there was somebody, you said Nathan was supervising Miles, but he wasn't really the first pick. There was somebody named Cody. Do I got that right?
Yes. Miss Barnett indicated her friend Cody was supposed to be home from work to watch Miles, but he hadn't gotten home before she needed to leave for work. I would note that Cody arrived as I was arriving to the home with Tiffany, and that was after 8 p.m. So based on my unannounced visit and the information I have, it does not appear that Cody was there at any point in time. I'd also note that the department is familiar with Cody and he does have an extensive criminal history as well as a history of Children's Protective Services, including prior terminations. Ms. Barnett did not seem aware of all of that, but did acknowledge knowing that Cody has some criminal history, but noted that it wasn't significant, just running from the police.
Okay. And this person's name is Cody Frost.
Correct.
Okay. So you says that in your recommendations, you're trying to obtain some additional information, and then you really want to be able to present that to the court. And from what I think you wrote about is that you're really going to potentially be asking for a goal change. Is that really your plan here?
Potentially, I want to ensure that the department is that if the department recommends a change in goal, that we have assessed all of the information before making such a serious recommendation to the court. We'd like an opportunity to conduct a family team meeting to try and figure out what options may be best for the children. Unfortunately, we're just at a critical point. These children have been in care for over 22 months, 22 of those months following disposition with court-ordered services. And we're at a point again where, I'm just not sure that Miss Barnett would be able to get to a place to parent both children with their individual needs and maintain her own well-being in the time frame that the law suggests it should occur. We've had a lot of services provided to Miss Barnett, and we continue to see similar patterns and setbacks. I do also want to afford Miss Barnett the opportunity to continue some of her EMDR before considering a recommendation as to goal change, which is why I ask for a permanency planning hearing within 90 days to afford us a little time. She's currently doing an accelerated version of EMDR. And there were some barriers in the past to facilitating that. Initially, her provider had left, and then she was referred but lost Medicaid insurance. And so we had to utilize a provider that was contracted with the state so we could pay for that directly. According to her therapist, Rocky, who's doing the accelerated, the art therapy with her, just looking at my report, I know we noted it. According to Rocky, we should be seeing changes within 1 to 5 sessions. And according to him, he had an initial art specific session on 8/6 with her. So that would have been her first art specific therapy session. So since that time, she should have had a couple. If I'm not sure if she's attended since or not. And so, he's saying 1 to 5 sessions, we should see some progress. So I want to be able to fairly assess that as well and get some feedback from her therapist on that. But, and I also like to see the results of the drug screen. Also, I'm working with my staff to obtain a police report following my visits to the home, which, as I would just note, there's a lot of detail in my court report. It was a very extensive home visit. A lot of information was covered, a lot of concerning statements on behalf of Tiffany, both individually for her own mental health and well-being, but also in terms of lack of accountability for the choices that were being made. A lot of deflection, a lot of blame on others. Given her statements about harming herself, she declined for us to take her to the hospital or call anyone, but we did contact law enforcement, request a well check on her because we were worried about her mental state with the things she was saying. And it's my understanding that there was a domestic violence incident in the early hours of 8/29 between Miss Barnett and Mr. Frost, Cody, her friend. So, and it's my understanding that Cody may have fled prior to law enforcement responding, but I'm waiting to get a copy of the police report so I can assess that information as well.
And that was regarding a domestic violence incident?
Correct. Miss Barnett reported to Miss Rice, my worker, that essentially they were arguing over basically whose fault it was that Miles had to leave the home. And it turned into a physical altercation, which resulted in Miss Barnett having a blackened eye and potentially having passed out, ending up on the floor.
All right. So as far as Mr. Hodges, Dennis Hodges, we're still waiting for him to be released from the Department of Corrections, I think maybe sometime in October.
Yeah, so originally we thought he would be out in August. He has since reported that he is delayed, that he anticipates he will be out in October now. He has to participate in a program. I'm just trying to reference my report for the correct name of it. He needs to participate and complete the InReach program, which based on our research, is essentially part of the reentry process. The department's not very clear as to what prevented that from happening already. I'm not sure if it's something where they're just kind of stuck with like when there's an opening in the program and that determines, when they're able to be in the program and subsequently released. But for whatever reason, there was a delay. The department's consistently had difficulty getting any direct communication with the prison.
Okay. So would you agree with me? Really, you were kind of like at a point where you want to gather some more information, and that this is really like a critical juncture due to the length of time the children have been in care and where this the lack of substantial progress is being assessed.
I would agree with that.
All right. Is there anything else you wanted to state today?
I don't think so. I think my report, again, I referenced my report is very thorough and detailed.
Okay, and you still, for now, you're asking the court to keep the goal of reunification, but you would really like to address and discuss specifically. That's something we can do at any time, but I mean, you really want to discuss the goal at this time, really due to recent events.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I think, by all indications, I mean, on paper, Ms. Barnett appears to be doing what she needs to. She's attending her therapy pretty consistently, which is certainly an improvement. I am concerned in talking with Ms. Barnett at the home visit. She indicated she has been off her medication, her mental health medication, since January of 25. Which essentially tells me that she did not follow through with getting insurance through Marketplace when she no longer qualified for Medicaid. That was something that this honorable court had also addressed at the last hearing, the importance of doing that and maintaining her mental health regimen. We're a little confused on some of that because previously, like following the last hearing, but prior to this hearing, she had some conversation with Nicole Doherty, the prior foster care worker, and had provided some documentation to show that essentially she had gotten a refill. So that's another area we need to get some more clarification because we're just not clear. But like I said, Ms. Barnett reports that she's been off her medication since January.
All right. Is there anything else beyond that?
I don't think so.
All right, thank you. Nothing further, Judge.
Mr. Brown?
Just very briefly, Ms. Benzu, you said that this happened back on the 28th.
Correct.
And how has she been since that time? I mean, these last 4 or 5 days, or do you know?
I have not spoken directly with Ms. Barnett since our visit Thursday, the evening of the 28th. Since my time, there was the domestic that occurred. Ms. Rice has had some communication with Ms. Barnett via text. My understanding from Ms. Rice is that her thought process and communication has been a little erratic. But outside of that, I don't have any updates. Monday was a holiday, so our office has been closed for 3 of the 5 days that you're referencing.
Okay. And this, at the last court hearing, if I recall, and my notes are right, you guys actually requested the discretion to return prior, and then all of this is going on. So I just want to make clear, is the purpose for this adjournment out, or for this next review period, to try and sort this out and figure out kind of what happened?
It's to assess and obtain all documentation we can to make a factual determination as to what is going to be in the best interest of the children moving forward in terms of permanency planning. Because like I said, we are at 22 months, having already had a re-removal. So, the children deserve permanency. Unfortunately, we believe that we are in a better place, but with the observations that occurred on Thursday evening, unfortunately, I can't say that we're in the same place as we were at the prior hearing or that I thought we were going to be at when we wrote the initial report for this hearing.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Delaney,
I have no questions. Thank you, Your Honor.
Ms. Hansel,
Yes, so Miles was placed back with his mother on what date?
So he was reunified in, I don't recall the exact date, but May of 2024. Both him and his sister Corinne, and then they were removed in July of 2024.
Okay, and this time, he was residing with his mother for a visit for 10 days, is that correct?
Yes, overnights.
Okay, so, and that started on 8/22?
Correct.
Okay, and then you're saying it was on what date did you go for the?
Thursday, 8/28/25.
28. So he had been with his mother for roughly 6 days at that point?
Correct.
Okay. I know that the visits have reverted back to supervised for mother, but how frequent are those visits and what is the duration of them?
So they were having, prior to this incident, we were doing, let me reference my report. I believe it was 4 overnights with both kids each week. We were slowly adding time. Yeah, they had been having 4 unsupervised overnight parenting times throughout the week. Both children at a time that was best for the kids, and that worked with everybody's schedule. So at this point, given what occurred, we made a plan through the weekend for supervised visits, utilizing an approved designees. And, moving forward for the supervised, we're going to have to talk as a team and see, if the court approves of that plan of supervised visits. For the time being, we would need to assess further visits.
Okay, so the supervised visits which you're planning, those happen 2 times a week or?
Based on Miles' age, in the department's policy, they would be at least twice weekly.
Okay, and do you know the duration or how long those would be?
The bare minimum is 1 hour. In this case, we have historically tried to utilize as many approved family members as we can so that we can increase Ms. Barnett's time with them. So we're not looking to minimize her time with them. They certainly have a bond with Ms. Barnett, but we want to ensure their safety while they're visiting moving forward.
Okay, how many of her relatives are approved?
Well, the relative caregivers who have placement are approved. We've also approved Tiffany's mother and father who also live next door.
Okay.
We just approved over the weekend I believe it's like a nephew. It's a relative, I believe a nephew, to assist us. And I think that's it. Oh, and then there's the foster father's, his mother is approved, and that's who Miles stayed with until the relatives returned from vacation.
Okay, and for Mr. Hodges, what is the frequency of his visits?
Currently with his incarceration, he's been just talking with Miles via phone.
Okay.
So he regularly calls Tiffany when he has access to the phone, and if Tiffany's with Miles, he gets on the phone and talks with Miles. There's been no issue with that. Mr. Hodges had sent paperwork to the relative caregivers to fill out to assist with some virtual parenting time, but unfortunately, they did fill it out and send it back, but unfortunately the prison has not approved or denied that request yet. And my understanding from my workers who have spoke with Mr. Hodges about this issue is that it can take quite a bit of time to get approval for that.
Yes, I apologize. I was thinking that he got out in August and you just said it was going to be October.
That's okay.
I have no other questions at that point. Thank you.
any follow-up, Mr. Sommerfeld?
No, thank you, Judge.
Any other witnesses or evidence, Mr. Sommerfeld?
Not from the department, Judge.
Mr. Brown, any witnesses or evidence?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Delaney, any witnesses or evidence?
Mr. Hodges, can you hear me?
Here's how I'm time. It's muted again.
My staff is telling me that the Department of Corrections microphone is muted at this point. But he may be able to hear you, but we can't hear him at the moment.
All right. You know, as the court is aware, most of this hearing has been about the mother. And my only question was going to be his new release date. It sounds like it's October, but I'd like to hear from the client directly. But since I can't communicate with him, I will not be able to call him as a witness then.
All right, Mr. Hodges, are you able to hear us now?
I can still hear you.
All right, were you able to hear your attorney, Mr. Delaney?
Yes.
Is there any information that you have as to your next out date?
October 2nd. I will be
All right.
released. The parole board ordered a parole order on August 25th. The way the system works is once they make a decision that I'm in parole, they have to notify the prosecutor in the county. And the parole order coming in on the 25th shows that the prosecutor responded that he had no objections to my parole. That was one of the reasons for the delay.
All right, Mr. Delaney, with that information, do you have any other questions?
Just briefly, Dennis, what's your plan when you get out?
One of the other reasons for the delay was for prior discussions with Ms. Daltrey, we had decided that I was not going to parole to Ms. Barnett's house. And so therefore I requested public placement. And part of the delay is because the parole agent in Sego County is arranging commercial residential housing for me, either at a hotel and a boarding house. So once that is cleared, which I will have updated information most likely within the next 2 weeks.
All right, Gaylord area or Sego County?
Correct.
And employment, anything you're able to line up quickly when you get out?
I'm sorry, excuse me?
And what about employment? Anything you can do to get going in that regard?
I do have a couple resources that I could most likely pick up an appointment and quickly, possibly working at the Gobbler's restaurant in Waters. However, I'll need also to discuss more with my DHS agent. Because I'm also, when I consider my employment options, I also have to consider availability for my time with Miles.
Okay, anything else I haven't covered that you want the court to be aware of today?
I do have the Department of Corrections is sending me up with a mentor. I've already discussed many of the plans with Miss Nicole Daltrey, the resources that are going to be available through DHS and through the parole department when I get out. There's going to be, I've already got the setups for peer recovery coach I'll be getting in contact with. Emotional and mental well-being. I'm going to be seeing an individual counselor. Pretty much a lot of what Ms. Barnett is going through, I will be processing as well.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Anyone else have any other statements or issues or comments that they wish to make before closing statements?
Your Honor, I just wanted to clarify, I misspoke earlier when I said that during the domestic, Miss Barnett reported having a black eye. It was a busted lip. So I just wanted to clarify that I misspoke on that.
All right, thank you very much for correcting that. All right, Mr. Sommerfeld, any closing statements?
Judge, just to really cut to it, We're at a critical point. The history of this case is removal for substance abuse and other things, conditions of the home. There was progress made by mom. Dad ended up going to prison. We had to remove the kids. It didn't work out. We saw progress again. Most recently, it looked pretty good the last 3 months. That report, things were moving in the right direction. I'd like to thank Miss Venzu and her team, but for her going out there that night, I don't know, there was a lot of bad stuff. Things did happen and could have been worse than it was, but it really is telling us that mom is not in compliance right now, that there's whatever's going on, if it's just progress for a week or a month or a couple of months, and then you go right back to the things that really brought us back to the conditions of the removal in the first place, that, you know, that those were the reasons for removal. Services were put in place to rectify those conditions and to settle the court's mind that it would not have an issue when it's like, should I put these kids back with these parents? And then, you know, pretty much the court wants to be able to say like, oh yeah, I think it's okay now. We're not at that point. Ms. Venzu is gathering some more information. We would like to discuss specifically. I know we can do this at any time, but we're really going to address the permanency goal here based upon the information. And also, all is not lost. With more time, Ms. Barnett could still engage in that EMDR. It sounds like an accelerated program. Maybe change some of the people that she's hanging out with, and maybe there'll be a different picture presented next time, but we're at a critical point. I'd ask the court to continue reunification and to make it clear to Ms. Barnett that, again, the importance of this juncture and what needs to be done at this point by her in order to keep the goal of reunification. Thank you.
Mr. Brown,
And no statement, Your Honor. Thank you.
Mr. Delaney.
Thank you, Judge. Adjusting my phone. I don't want to steal the court's thunder, but addressing Mr. Hodges, this is a, excuse me, a 2023 case. He'll be out in approximately a month. This will be his last chance. If he comes out and has a serious relapse on these issues, he'll be heading toward termination. And the mother's case didn't appear to be improving today. And the court's going to be looking to a parent to have placement of the child. So he'll need to move on this with all deliberate speed, as they say. Thank you, Your Honor.
Ms. Hansel.
I agree with recommendations, Your Honor.
All right, thank you very much. Let me first speak to Dad, Mr. Hodges. Your attorney is correct. I'm looking forward to your opportunity to get out and to show to me which direction you're going to be heading in, whether that's towards reunification with your son and daughter, or whether that's going to be the opposite of that, termination of parental rights. And we're not going to have a whole lot of time to make that decision. So you need to be locked and loaded, as they say, ready to go from the moment that you hit the ground here in Otsego County, doing good things towards getting your kids back. So I'll simply leave it at that, because there's not much you can do now that you're still in the Department of Corrections. But be in close contact with your attorney. If you have any questions at all about what you should do, speak with him first, and cooperate as much as possible with the Department of Health and Human Services. As to Mom, I am going to give the department their 90 days to kind of evaluate what they saw on this last weekend that they were at your house. But suffice it to say that the court's not happy about any of those reported things. You have, because they're going to get 90 days to review what happened, you've got 90 days to change back to the good reports that we were getting in the past. And let's make it real this time, as opposed to just a made up set of circumstances. Let's actually do the work that's necessary for that. You've got 90 days to do your EMDR. You're going to have time in there to talk with your counselors and your therapists and work through some issues, whatever it is that's causing you to be either talk about suicidal or not make good decisions about who's going to keep your kids and watch your kids and whether or not you should be working or not. You're going to need to be honest with the department. If you've got some issues that you need to work on, let's talk to them about that and let's get the work done as opposed to just covering things up. If you need time to work on medication reviews, this is that opportunity to do that. If you're thinking I want to keep working with my marijuana, quite frankly, no. I'm not going to let you have your kid back if you're going to have marijuana in the house. I don't care how many medical cards you've got. You've shown that you can't be trusted with it. You're not using it as appropriate. And so it's just ridiculous if you think that you're going to snow me again. Okay. So I'm just telling you how life is. If you want your child back, let's get off of that stuff. And if you need medication for that, if you need counseling for whatever the problem is, let's get those things done. But if you're just going to do the same thing that you did in this case so far, things are not going to go well. So I am going to follow the recommendations. Miles and Corinne will remain under the jurisdiction of the court, referred to MDHHS for care, custody, and supervision. I am going to give MDHHS 90 days to consider for permanency planning purposes. I believe that it would be necessary to know more about EMDR, the drug screen that's been done, but it hasn't been returned yet, mental health treatment for mom, the police report regarding the domestic violence, and the medication review of mom being off med or meds since January 25. Plus, I think we're going to need to give Mr. Hodges some time once he gets back in here to show us what he can do, and hopefully that'll be during this next 90 days as well. During that time period, parenting time for Ms. Barnett will be supervised for all the reasons stated by the department in today's hearing. The parenting time for Mr. Hodges, if he is out and available prior to the next court hearing, I believe should be supervised because he hasn't had parenting time in a significant amount of time. So I want that to be supervised until the next court hearing at which we can look at whether it should be unsupervised or not. And then both Mr. Hodges and Ms. Barnett must participate in their respective parent agency treatment plans and show sustained benefit. That means they need to do max effort and show significant benefit in the next 90 days, or we may be looking at some termination of parental rights issues. Mr. Sommerfeld, anything else that you'd ask of the court?
Just a clarification, Judge, does supervised parenting time also include an approved designee that the department has checked out and deemed appropriate? I think Ms. Benzu would be looking for that latitude, just because we've had this rather sudden change. It's like a sea change as it relates to parenting time.
Yes, Ms. Benzu and the department do have that discretion. I know that mom especially will be on a short leash, at least for the beginning portion of this time. But I do want to give MDHHS the opportunity to, in their discretion, grant who would be an appropriate supervisor of that. I would hope at the beginning that there would be a short leash, but if she shows that she can merit additional extensions of that, I'm not opposed to that in the future. Anything else, Mr. Sommerfeld?
No, thank you, Judge.
Mr. Brown, anything else?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
Mr. Delaney?
Thank you, Judge.
Ms. Hansel, anything else?
No, sir, thank you.
All right, that would be the order of the court. We'll see you all in approximately 90 days.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you.